The film begins with a young man named Poe, a reckless guy who spends most of his time partying in nightclubs and acting without thinking. One night at a club, a group of men becomes enraged with him and starts beating him badly. At that moment, Kyle, one of his father's trusted men, steps in and stops the fight. Later, Kai tells Poe to leave the club, but the men suddenly attack him instead. Kai easily defeats every one of them. When the attackers pull out weapons, the club owner draws his pistol and orders everyone to leave. Kai warns Poe that they are in the middle of a war and tells him not to wander around alone or start trouble. But Poe ignores the warning, gets into his car, and drives away. The next day, his brutally murdered body is discovered. The news soon reaches Poe's father, Singh. Around the same time, a man named Isaac receives a call informing him that Singh's son has been killed. Isaac then goes to his associate Mac, asking him to comfort Singh and find whoever murdered the boy. Meanwhile, in America, a man named Horn learns that his brother has died. Consumed by rage, he gets into a violent fight with prison guards. They drag him into a torture room, but Horn knocks one of them unconscious, steals the keys, frees himself from the chains, and escapes. Later, disguised in a guard's uniform, he successfully walks out of the prison. Isaac visits Singh and assures him that none of his men were responsible for Poe's death. He promises to personally find the killer. In truth, Singh had feared that Isaac's organization might be blamed for the murder. Because of this, he orders Mac to protect both his son and daughter around the clock. This is how we are introduced to Isaac's daughter, Trish. When Morris tells her that he has been assigned to guard her under her father's orders, she becomes irritated. Later, she goes to a barbershop with Morris. While they are there, a package is delivered, and the moment it is opened, a massive explosion tears through the place. While Trish is inside the shop, Morris is outside singing to himself. At the same time, a man named John asks a taxi driver to take him to a certain address. When the driver refuses, John forcefully takes the cab instead. Trish also manages to slip away from Morris and gets into the same car. John refuses to take any money from her, and after she leaves, he quietly watches her walk away. Later, Colin calls his father Isaac and reveals that, shortly before Poe died, he received a call from a man named Farhad. According to Colin, Farhad claimed he had found a way to end the war between the two sides. Isaac is shocked by this revelation and urgently tells Colin to come see him immediately. Horn later visits his brother's house and looks through old photographs. Afterward, he calls the last number his brother contacted and discovers that it belongs to the same shop where Trish had been earlier. Mac tells Trish that she must accept protection because the situation has become extremely dangerous. However, she refuses. Furious, Mac beats Morris and says he will leave several men behind to keep watch over her. Later, Colin arrives at his father's office. Isaac explains that he is involved in a massive illegal operation. If the deal succeeds, they plan to leave the criminal world behind for good. But until then, Colin must protect both himself and his sister. At that moment, Mac informs Isaac about the explosion at the barbershop. He warns him that the situation is escalating rapidly and insists that all unfinished business must be concluded as quickly as possible. John later visits Trish's house and asks her about the last number his brother called before dying. Trish tells him he could have been speaking to any of the girls working at the shop. But just then, Morris arrives with his men, forcing Trish to warn John to stay away from the window. Pretending to be a delivery driver, John tries to avoid suspicion. But when Morris realizes there is no food delivery, he chases after him. John effortlessly beats all of them and drives away in their car. Later, John attends his brother's funeral and places a basketball beside the grave, a reminder of the games they used to play together. There, he meets his father. We learn that John had gone to prison so that his father and brother could escape to America. Before being imprisoned, he promised to protect his brother. Determined to avenge his death, John decides to hunt down the killer himself. Although his father tries to stop him, John visits Kai and asks about the person responsible for his brother's murder. Kai claims he knows nothing, but remembers that Poe had gotten into a fight with several men at the club shortly before his death. He suggests they may have been the killers. After this, John asks Trish to question her brother about the matter, but Mac notices John and asks Trish who he is. She introduces him as a friend. Mac then invites John to join them in a rugby game. John agrees, and afterward reminds Trish about his earlier request. One day, while Colin is at home with his girlfriend, someone knocks on the door. An unknown attacker brutally murders them both and throws their bodies out the window. No one knows who committed the crime. Trish becomes furious with her father and blames him for her brother's death. Meanwhile, Mac advises Isaac not to take action until the deal is completed. He promises that those responsible for killing his son will be punished when the time comes. When John returns home, he finds the entire place completely destroyed. Later, he notices a photograph of his brother and discovers a car key hidden behind it. Inside the car, he finds a piece of paper containing several addresses. At that moment, Trish arrives in tears and reveals that her brother has also been murdered. She proposes that she and John work together to find the killer. Later, a businessman named Ross speaks with Barry over the phone. He tells him that the deal is nearly complete. There are no rivals left, and they are about to take full control of the entire territory. John and Trish head to the first address written on the piece of paper. It turns out to be an auto garage. However, every worker inside has already been murdered. A moment later, John notices that someone's cigarette is still burning. He immediately rushes outside and spots the men escaping on motorcycles. But the men notice him and begin firing at him. John and Trish jump into a car and speed away, while the attackers chase them through the streets. During the pursuit, John manages to snatch a pistol from one of them. Soon after, he comes face to face with another fighter and the two engage in a brutal hand-to-hand fight. To his surprise, John realizes that his opponent is a Chinese woman. She also battles the attackers, but in the end, they manage to escape from her. Afterward, John visits his father and tells him that Isaac could not have killed his brother because a Chinese woman attacked them at the garage. But when his father starts awkwardly defending himself without being accused, John becomes suspicious. Meanwhile, Mac intimidates the owner of a fish market, trying to force him to sell his business. At the same time, Kai leads his men in an attack against Singh's partners and blows up their boat, killing everyone on board. Later, Kai reports everything to Singh. Singh gathers his partners together and explains that he had no choice but to act this way in order to seize control of the entire territory. He then calls Roth and informs him that the area now fully belongs to him and can be purchased whenever Roth is ready. Isaac later visits his daughter Trish and asks her to come with him. He begs her not to meet with Horn because a war is raging between the two sides. He also assures her that he had nothing to do with Poe's death. Afterward, he takes her to their old heavily guarded house. Isaac tells Trish not to leave the property and promises that once the deal is finished, they will abandon everything and disappear from the criminal world. At that moment, Mac arrives and informs Isaac that Roth has an important call for him. Roth announces that he is ready to send over the contracts. Meanwhile, Horn discovers the address of the new house. He quietly enters one of the rooms, afraid his father might notice him. Just then, his father walks in and casually mentions that he ordered pizza. Unknown to him, John is hiding silently behind the door. When Morris arrives with the food, he realizes that Trish is gone. John explains to Trish that every address on the paper has either been burned down or its owners murdered. Only one address remains in touch, a nightclub. The two head to the club to investigate what is happening. Once inside, they blend in by dancing with the crowd. However, the club owner recognizes Trish and orders his guards to bring them to him. He is furious because Trish's father had tried to pressure him into selling the club. At that exact moment, Mac arrives. It is revealed that he has been acting on his own without Isaac's permission. He attempts to force the club owner into selling the club, but when the man refuses, Mac shoots him dead. He then takes Trish hostage and captures Horn. John steps forward and demands that they release her, but Morris mocks him. Enraged, John violently attacks Morris. Using a fire hose, he manages to overpower the rest of the men as well. After brutally beating Morris again, he forces him to reveal where Trish is being held, then steals their vehicle and drives off. At the same time, Singh finalizes the sale of the entire territory to Roth and receives the payment. Outside, however, he runs into Isaac, who also intends to sell his own territory. Roth hands Isaac a check for $38 million. But Isaac shocks him by announcing that he wants to become a partner in the new nightclub business instead. Roth is caught off guard, insisting that this was never part of their agreement, and asks for time to think about it. Mac becomes furious after learning that Isaac wants to become a partner. He threatens to kill Trish unless Isaac steps down. It is revealed that Isaac once tried to have Mac killed, but this time Mac strikes first and shoots Isaac himself. At that very moment, Roth's men arrive carrying the bag filled with contracts. They suddenly pull out their guns and begin shooting everyone in sight. Only Mac, Isaac, and Trish survive the massacre. Roth flees toward a helicopter with his men, but Mac chases after them and kills them all, seizing the bag of contracts for himself. His victory is short-lived, however, because John suddenly appears. As Mac attempts to shoot John with his pistol, Trish fires first at the last second, killing Mac. She then rushes to check on her father. Isaac thanks John and expresses admiration for his strength. Later, John goes to his father's house and confronts Kai. There, he finally learns the truth. Kai killed his brother under Singh's direct orders because Poe's reckless actions threatened to destroy a deal worth millions of dollars. A savage fight immediately erupts between them. Kai is a master of kung fu and an incredibly dangerous opponent, but John is an equally formidable fighter. As flames spread around them, the two clash in a merciless battle. In the end, John lands a devastating blow that knocks Kai unconscious and defeats him. Afterward, John confronts his father, furious over his brother's murder. He tells Singh that he will not kill him, but instead hand him over to the police. Unable to live with the consequences of his actions, Singh takes his own life. At the end of the film, Trish and John reunite and begin a new life together.